It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
I think our parents were right. It was the damn phones. We laughed when we were children hearing it's that Snapgram and InstaChat and FaceTalk. They didn't understand. They couldn't even say it right. I thought I knew better than them. They didn't know what it was like having a world to the tip of our fingers. We scrolled through the trash so much we have headlines tattooed on our skin. Wires for veins, AI for a brain, and they may not have understood, but they were right. It is the damn phones. A drug in my pocket dependent on simulation, but can we blame us? We were but children when they were given. We didn't know how to stop it. If I added up all the hours I spent on a screen, existential dread and regret would creep in, so I ignore this fact by typing away. And it's not like I can throw away my phone. It's how we communicate, it's how we relate, it's the medicine that is surely making our souls die. I used to say I was born in the wrong generation, but I was mistaken, for do I not do everything I say I hate? When I look in the mirror, I see a ghost staring back. I try not to think about who I would be without technology. The character behind my phone screen has become self-aware. Almost worse than being naive, for I know it's poison, but I drink anyways. We used to be scared of robots gaining consciousness, to lie by the media companies to keep us distracted, as to not ourselves become conscious of the mess that they have created. We are the robots, we are the products, and so I sit and I scroll and I rot on repeat. Sit and scroll and rot until my own thoughts are what's being fed to me on TV, until my own feelings are wrapped in celebrities, until my body is a tool of my political identity, and so I sit and I scroll and I rot. And so I post on the internet how the internet has failed us, so that I may not fail my internet presence. I think our parents were right. It was the damn phones.
That's Corey.Janes, Kori.Janes on Instagram Reels, saying it was the damn phones, and our parents were right. Hello, this is Dr. Justin Coulson. Today, a special announcement on the Happy Families podcast. We are creating a movement. The website, unplugchildhood.org. Unplugchildhood.org. Following in the footsteps of Professor Jonathan Haidt from New York University and his incredible book, The Anxious Generation, we're starting to make some noise and creating a movement. The goal is to get at least 25% of parents on board with this, to do some basic things that are going to make a difference, really move the needle when it comes to your children and their well-being. Unplugchildhood.org. If you are interested, then like so many other parents, you're aware that our children's access to social media and devices is not in their best interests, and you want to know what you can do about it. And so that's what this podcast and that's what this movement is all about. I'm going to answer 3 simple questions for you. Number 1, why does it matter that we get screens and social media under control? Number 2, can we really unplug childhood? And number 3, how can we get everyone on board and really make change? I mean, for the last however many years, it's felt like walking uphill in a hurricane, maybe an icy uphill in a hurricane. We can change this now. There is more movement, there is more enthusiasm, there's more desire on the part of parents than I have ever seen to get the screen and social media issue under control. So let's start with why it matters. In recent years, social media companies have been under the spotlight. I've talked about it a lot here on the Happy Families podcast. Mendacious CEOs, this sheer dishonesty of the CEOs who have failed to implement basic safety protocols that they actually have. They know that kids are being harmed by their products. Algorithms have been shown to push suicide to vulnerable kids. Got depression, here's a steady diet of pills and razors and so much more. An increasing number of studies point to links between social media and anxiety and depression, eating disorders, body objectification, gender identity difficulties, sleep disturbances, non-suicidal self-harm, and suicide. This is why it matters. And the amazing thing, social media, we know this, social media exposes kids to significant safety risks. In fact, it goes beyond social media. It's also smartphones because of the explicit content that kids can get when they're walking around carrying these things in their pockets. The Australian E-Safety Commissioner, Julie Inman-Grant, and the Australian Centre to Counter Child Exploitation are consistently warning about children who are experiencing sextortion. There's an alarming percentage of children who are assaulted by unsolicited nude images. There's image-based abuse. It's increasing. Scams are rife. Privacy concerns are just enormous. Online bullying remains a never-ending, ever-present challenge. And we know that our kids who are playing fun games are targeted by bad actors. I shared some of that with you just recently from Parental Guidance Season 2, where we got kids to jump on a game and be approached by an actual actor who was pretending to be a bad actor, and kids fell for it. They started to give away their details. All of these things are perpetuated and amplified by social media. That's why it matters, and that's why we need this movement. That's why we need to unplug childhood. Unplugchildhood.org. In addition, by the way, as a result of those problems and those concerns, here's what I'm proposing. And I'm so excited. I'm teaming up with a whole bunch of people. Their names are on the website. Because at the time that I'm recording this podcast, I don't have everyone locked in and nailed down. So I'm not going to mention any names right now, but we're talking, well, lots of really great people who do lots of really great stuff. And they're people who know, because they do this work all day and all night. And unplugged childhood, what does it mean? Well, we don't let our kids drink alcohol before they're 18 because we know that it's unsafe and unhealthy. We don't let our kids gamble before 18 because we know it's unsafe and unhealthy. These are the kinds of things where the earlier you do it, the earlier you start, the more likely it is that you'll do it in excess and the more likely it is that you'll do it in problematic ways. But let's move beyond those kinds of things. We don't let our kids drive a car before they're 16 and they have a permit. Why? Well, it's unsafe and it's unhealthy. They're probably not going to be able to do it very well. Right now in Australia, there are some great people, including Whipper of Fitzy and Whipper fame, who are working on a top-down legislative approach to make social media illegal for under 16s. Why are they doing it? Because we know it's unsafe and unhealthy. And I absolutely, completely support them. We need those laws. Our kids need those laws. Because it is the damn phones. But laws take a long time to be passed. They take an even longer time to be implemented. The tech to do it is questionable. It needs to be a Commonwealth decision rather than a state-by-state movement. It's going to cost a bomb. Parents need help knowing how to make this happen even after legislation is passed. I don't think we can afford to wait that long. And I suspect that if laws are passed, that they may end up being challenged by the social media companies. Can't be guaranteed, but I think it might happen. So what's my focus? It's called an unplugged childhood. Let's unplug childhood. Once again, the website, unplugchildhood.org. The deal when it comes to unplugging childhood has always been, according to the social media giants themselves, that our children should not be on socials before 13. Now, that's nothing new, but too many of us are not playing by the rules as parents because the kids come home and say, can I have Snapchat? Can I have Facebook? All my friends have got it. I'm the only one in my grade that hasn't got it. This isn't fair. What I want to highlight here is what I'm proposing when I say let's unplug childhood, I'm not actually proposing anything new. If we don't play by the rules, we end up having the majority of primary school age children on social media and on smartphones. And guess what? When I go to schools, when I do my speaking, when I talk to parents, when I talk to adults, and even when I talk to the kids themselves, the overwhelming majority of primary school age kids have social media accounts and they have smartphones. Folks, the house is still on fire. The house is still on fire and the kids are in the house. They're in there while it's burning down. So we need to put this fire out, and I think we can do something about it. We can do something about it today. We don't have to wait for the government. So I'm going to ask you to do three things. Will you visit unplugchildhood.org? That's part of number one, and pledge. I want you to pledge to do the following. Number one, delay. Commit to keeping smartphones and social media out of primary school. Let's give our kids a play-based childhood, not a screen-based childhood. Jonathan Haidt, in his Anxious Generation book, makes so much of this, and he's so right. He's so right. I don't want to say that the 80s and the 90s or the 70s were the best time in the history of the world, but I'll tell you what, it was a great time to grow up. And the play-based childhood that so many of us enjoyed, our kids, as a general rule, they're missing out on. Why? Because they've got a screen-based childhood instead. Let's give our kids a play-based childhood. Commit to keeping smartphones and social media out of primary school and out of kids' hands while they're in primary school. Number two, and this is where it gets tricky, we need to build a community. See, the central reason, the main reason that kids want socials is for relationship. Now, they want smartphones for other things as well, but the central reason is social relationship. No child wants to be socially isolated. So as parents, we need to step up here and build a community with other like-minded parents who all want to delay giving smartphones and social media to their kids until they're at least 14 and preferably 15 or 16. We need to stick together on this. It's the kind of thing that takes a village to navigate our kids through this brave new world. So use your access to tech for good by helping your kids to get together with others often. And here's the third thing. When the time comes for your kids to actually have devices, go slow. When they want a phone or you want them to have a phone for safety reasons, start with a basic dumb phone or a smartwatch, because kids don't need smartphones. They need smart parents. And smart parents give their kids dumb phones. I want you to aim for 14 for smartphones and 16 for social media platforms. Ideally, might even be able to push that even further and build effective boundaries. What do I mean by that? Well, when your child gets their first smartphone, they're going to be willing to agree to any conditions at all. So create the rules. No phones in bedrooms. No phones in bathrooms. No phones overnight. Tech-free areas and tech-free times in the house. And the condition that you have their password so that you can check in every now and again and make sure that everything's going okay. If this sounds good to you, there's 2 other things that you can do to make this work. Number 1, please download the resources. They'll help you to have conversations with your kids and with other parents. Those resources are all over unplugchildhood.org. And number 2, share the pledge and the movement as widely as you can. Share it on your own socials. I know we're saying get the kids off socials, but you're going to keep using yours. So share it on your own socials. Share it in your school WhatsApp groups. Share it with everyone around you. Talk about it frequently with your kids. And here's the best news of all. 25% is the tipping point. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania found that when the size of minority who are committed to social change reaches 25%, it's consistently able to be established as a new behavioral norm in the large group. So we don't need everyone. We need 25%, and the momentum will build from there. Join us and help us unplug childhood and give our kids the play-based childhood they deserve. Unplugchildhood.org. Sign the pledge, download the resources, share the news. Let's get it out there and make our kids' lives play-based rather than screen-based. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rowan from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. Unplugchildhood.org. The website is in the show notes. Have a great weekend, and let's get this conversation, let's get this movement, let's get this party started.